Batman stars Robert Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Paul Dano, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, the Great Andy Serkis as Alfred, and John Turturro. So for anyone who knows me, knows that I am a huge Batman fan. He is probably my favorite superhero, mainly because I like damaged people and also I like bad boys, and Batman is both damaged and a bad boy. But also because he is, even though he's rich, he is still a regular person who decided to use his riches to try and make Gotham City a better place. I was a huge fan of the Batman the Animated Series from the 90s. Like, that was probably one of the greatest cartoons for me growing up, alongside the X-Men the Animated Series. I didn't become a Batman fan until the 1989 Tim Burton Batman. You know, I watched the Adam West, and that's such a classic, and he is a great Batman, but it was all, you know, it was goofy, it was silly. It was very cartoony. And when Michael Keaton and Tim Burton got together for the 1989 Batman, it made Batman cool to me. And then, of course, Batman Returns, I think, is one of the best sequels in the whole Batman franchise, despite what some parents and McDonald's had to say. So it was great seeing this film go back to that detective side of Batman. It wasn't him just fighting and beating up people and where are they? No, Matt Reeves definitely took it back to Batman as a detective, and he will do what he needs to do to solve the case. So our villain for this movie, there's a few in here, but the main villain is the Riddler. And he is basically knocking off some of the higher ups in the city of Gotham. And we do learn that there's some corruption going on. And basically, the Riddler wants the truth to come to light. There was something that happened, and a lot of people were involved and covered it up. While trying to solve the case of who the Riddler is and why he's killing these people, Batman encounters Selina Kyle. And through all this investigating, Selina's friend turns up missing, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her. And of course, the mob and the bad guys are involved. And so she and Batman sort of team up to figure out what is going on in the meantime. My thoughts about the movie, I will say this: I highly enjoyed this movie. I think, of course, the cinematography is amazing. Matt Reeves is a great director. The movie definitely reminds you of the movie Seven also, which is another great detective movie. Especially the opening scene when the Riddler comes after the mayor. It is a great scene, and that whole scene reminds you of the movie Seven. So they definitely took some inspiration from that. The movie is a little dark, of course. I feel like each Batman movie we get, it gets darker and darker. But the cinematography, the shots, the dialogue, everything I felt was on point. Zoe Kravitz is actually really great as Catwoman. There's this sense of, you see the internal struggle in her of wanting to do good but enjoying doing bad. And she and, of course, Batman have great chemistry. As far as Robert Pattinson as Batman, I feel like with every Batman casting, there's always some backlash of they're not going to be a good Batman. Why were they cast as Batman? We saw that happen with Michael Keaton in the 1989 Batman. He had just finished Beetlejuice, and so it was hard for people to think Beetlejuice is going to be the suave, debonair, fighting Bruce Wayne / Batman. But he did an excellent job. I think he is definitely my top as far as Batman portrayals. I thought he did a great job. Robert Pattinson's Batman, and I know I don't want to keep comparing him to previous Batmans, but it's kind of hard because the casting is always such a big deal. I do think he's a great Batman. Because this is the beginning stages of Batman, I don't feel that he is a good Bruce Wayne yet. And that is simply because he hasn't come into his own yet. This is definitely a very emo Batman, sulking, still not, the death of his parents is still fresh in his emotions, you can see. we get that type of Bruce Wayne. He doesn't care about keeping up appearances. He just really does mope around a lot. And I understood that because that is the beginning. This is still the beginning arc of Batman. He hasn't come into his own yet as far as, okay, I have to be this way as Bruce Wayne, but I'm this way as Batman. Right now, he's kind of just Batman all the time. Colin Farrell also did a great job in this movie. He plays Penguin, and I honestly could not see through the makeup that was him. It was very, very hard. The eyes gave it away a little bit, but he definitely fell into the role and blended very well. And I was not looking at Colin Farrell, I was looking at the Penguin. They did turn him into some more of a mobster type New York accent Penguin versus the suave, sophisticated Penguin that we've seen in previous adaptations. Of course not Batman Returns, because that was the problem that some people had with that Penguin. Also, Jeffrey Wright, I think he makes a great Gordon. There was some backlash about that because Jeffrey Wright is black and Commissioner Gordon has always been played by a white person. But Jeffrey Wright never goes wrong in any role I've ever seen him, and he is always on point. He always gives 110%, and I think he's really great as Commissioner Gordon. And I also, the other thing I liked about the movie is they really showed Gordon's relationship with Batman. In previous adaptations, you can tell, yes, they knew each other. You could tell they were acquaintances. They respected one another. They communicated with each other. But in this one, you really see they're actually doing the detective work together. They're actually somewhat like the animated series, where they really worked together and talked and tried to solve these crimes. Even though Batman will go off and do his own thing, he still respected and trusted Gordon enough for them to work together. And I really liked that aspect. They really showed that. That's something I haven't really seen yet in any adaptation of Batman outside of the animated series. The main things I did not like about the film is the length of the film. It is a very long movie. It is 2 hours and 56 minutes. And that can be very long. Especially a movie that isn't non-stop action. I know Endgame was a little over 3 hours, but there were a lot more action scenes that filled that runtime. So it didn't necessarily feel like you were watching a 3-hour movie. With the Batman, it feels like 3 hours. It really is long. Now, I love true crime and detective stories, so I was okay with a 2 hour, 56 minute runtime. To an extent, because I did like the detective work that was going on, and I was very engaged in the story and wanting to know why the Riddler was doing what he was doing. But yeah, to sit there and to watch the movie where there is a lot of dialogue, it can be a little tiresome. The other thing, and this is just a personal preference, I honestly wished Batman did not have long hair, because it was just always in his face and he always just looked so emo. I liked the scenes better when he had his hair slicked back, or I wish he would have cut his hair. But that's just a personal preference of mine. Besides that, I am looking forward to the sequel because they're doing the sequel. The movie was very successful, and now that it's on HBO Max, it's doing even better. So I'm definitely looking forward to a sequel. I really wish we got to see a Ben Affleck Batman movie because I think he's a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne. I think he had a great balance of being Batman and Bruce Wayne. So I really wanted to see more of him. But I'm enjoying this movie as well. And I'm interested to see where Matt Reeves takes the rest of this story. So guys, that was my review of the Batman. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to keep an eye out for more videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.